I'm starting the recording and also recording in Teams. So as I mentioned, everyone, it's going to be a relatively quick class, primarily because everyone's assigned a task already, right? With regards to what you need to do. And at the same time, we're just covering what you're actually submitting for assessment one. So a quick reminder with regards to the assessment, right? Again, I specified what the overall direction, I guess. So it's more of a guideline than an actual creative direction. And the reason for that is a design Bible or a production Bible or a production design sheet is usually quite a big document. So we won't have that luxury because we're not, we don't really have time to do it, right? But we do have some sort of guideline with regards to what we're trying to achieve for the short film. So I guess this is some of the guidelines that I specified, right? In terms of look, we might be going with a more stylized, obviously 3D look, similar to perhaps what you see here. So I forgot the movie, but I think it was called Soul, I think, if I got it right. So with that said, okay, I also specified. So we already specified who's doing what. So if something's unclear, do let me know, right? But the idea is you already have a prop list. So apologies for some of you because I did change the prop list, and the reason for that is we are not doing it at a professional level where we already know the story. The story continuously evolves. So we have to change the story up a little bit, but now we do have something a bit more solid. So that means you guys will have, the props that you're going to be creating are actually locked in, right? So hopefully that makes sense. So let me just go over that again. So I think that's the asset list there. So we already specified the asset list. Again, what this means for the students doing the props, you're modeling it. You don't necessarily need to. You don't necessarily need to um, texture it or shade it. We can do the texturing and the shading and the look dev shading part in assessment too. But you definitely need to model that. Uh, some of the thing with modeling, guys, is a lot will depend with regards to where it will be in the shot. So if you're doing a close-up, right? So for example, Dylan is creating the broom. If we are doing a close-up of the broom, meaning we can see the handles, what that means is you have to add additional details on the handles, right? Because if you just rely on the texture, then it won't be enough for a close-up. The texture will be pixelized. If it's a real close-up, like an extreme close-up, then you're talking about, a lot of detail. Luckily for you guys, there's not going to be, particularly, extreme close-ups for the props. So some of you may not. So let me just expand on this. So for example, if you're doing characters and your character is just walking or it's just a background character where there's no shots of the character with, the fingers, for example, then obviously you don't want to spend too much time modeling the fingers. But if you do have a character where we have a close up of the fingers of that character, then just imagine fingers, the details in your fingers are actually quite a lot, meaning there's a lot of folds there. You have to model the fingernails, and the fingernails have to look really good. So modeling for something that has a close-up is totally different from something that doesn't have a close-up, right? And this is very obvious when you're doing the face. So again, if you're doing a main character where you have a lot of close-ups on extreme close-ups where we're closing in on the eyes, then you have to make sure that you have enough detail there. In fact, similar to games, in films, for example, we have multiple versions of the character. So we might have a version that's low res or mid res, where it works with a wide shot. But if it's a close up, what happens is we swap that character with a more detailed character. If it's, for example, a close up of the fingers or the hands, we might even have a version of the character where it's just the hands or just just the arm, just the hands. Um, and again, uh, I'm just, I'm just saying this because not all types of modeling will be the same, right? So it really depends on what shots we need. So a good example again, if for example, if you have a shot where the character's feet are seen and then the toes are supposed to be seen, then obviously you need to model the toes. Okay, so those are things that you need to think about. Now, luckily for us, our character is relatively straightforward. We do have a lot of close-ups on the face. That means you have to make sure that you have enough detail there with the face. So what does it mean? Unfortunately, I don't really have files, your files here. So maybe I'll just open an example, right? So my recommendation for you guys is have a look at the shot list. It's in, I think I shared it in Teams, because the shot list will dictate, the level of modeling that you guys will end up creating, right? So for example, I don't think we have an extreme close-up of the face anyway. So let me just have a quick look. It's in Teams if I'm not mistaken. So let me just look at that again. Okay, so that's, I guess, geez, did I place it somewhere? Ah, there you go. Shot list. Okay, so for some of you who haven't seen it, so that's the shot list there. So there's an extreme close-up of the broom. So that means it's primarily the broom that we see. So what that means, right, is you really have to add, modeling detail there. So what do I mean by that? So I understand that most of you guys are still working on, refining your props. So that's totally okay. So for example, the broom there, yes, I totally understand that you're still, refining the shot. But take note that if we're doing an extreme close-up where we see, let's say, the broom handle, that means that the character's hands will be seen. So that means for the students doing the modeling, that's, I think, Hannah and I think, not sure, is that Hannah and Brandon, is it? So for the students doing the characters, that means there's going to be a close-up of the hands, meaning it has to be articulated and it has to look good in a close-up. Okay, and it has to be clear how it actually grabs the broom. For the students doing the broom, and I think that's Dylan, that means the handle will be visible. If you rely on the texture, it won't work. Okay, so what do I mean by that one? If you rely on the texture, so if you think that, you can just, so let me just show you what I mean. So for example, if you created the broom using some sort of cylinder, just an example, right? Um, let's just turn off, geez, I forgot how to do this. Caps, there you go. And then subdivision, there. Okay, and then maybe I'll scale it up. Okay, so if you think that that might be okay for, let's say, your broom, notice that if we do have a close-up, right? And let's say the close-up of the broom will be something like that, okay? Notice what happens there, right? Notice that it's going to be obvious that it's quite pixelated, especially, for example, if we add some sort of light. So for example, if I add, let's say, an area light, and maybe I'll turn on lighting, use all lights, and maybe I'll just rotate this, make that bigger, rotate that a little bit, then move that to the side, and then maybe change the intensity, maybe 20 or 60. So again, guys, a really rough example, but the idea behind that is, see, notice now that this is a close-up of the object. So maybe that's a close-up of the broom, and that's supposed to be the handle of the broom. So if you think you can get away with just modeling it like this, it won't be enough, right? And some of you will say, can the texture will handle it. Even the texturing process, if you don't do it well, if the UVs and your textile density is not very good, what happens is you'll end up with a pixelated. I guess I might end up showing that, but it's a bit hard because I don't have a texture. So maybe let's have a wood texture, for example, because uh, again, I'm just expanding on this, right? So let's say we just have a wood texture, and let's say you didn't really. So I'm assuming that you guys already know a little bit of textile density, meaning the faces or the faces of your object should have enough or should be using enough of the UV space to be able to have, a significant amount of the texturing there. So maybe I'll just give you an example where let's assign it a material. So maybe I'll assign it to texture. So I'm assigning a texture, guys. Okay. So I understand this is not, see, so some of you might have, think that, you know what, totally fine. We're just, the texture will do a lot of the details. See how pixelated it is if you didn't add enough texture space. So see this close up, that actually looks pretty bad. Okay, because again, you're not using enough texture density. So what I mean by that is, so maybe in the UV editor, what that means is, see, if you're using this, if that's your textile density, that means you probably need that to be bigger. So maybe here. So see, notice how that is actually, or maybe I need to rotate that. So maybe, see guys, what that means is I actually need a bit more. So maybe that's the textile density I need, or maybe I need a higher res texture, right? So maybe I need a 4K texture or a 2K texture. Okay. So again, lots of things there. So um, if you guys can share, so first the students here, if you can share, let's say, let's talk about textile density, or let's talk about modeling. If you can share your files, even if it's rough, that's totally fine. You know what? I can actually just do it here because if you're talking, so the students doing the characters, right? You're doing the UVs for that, and you're doing the texturing for that already. Okay. The reason why, so this is my point, guys. So see, notice that it's not just assigning a texture and you're happy and that's it. It's actually how you laid out your UVs on top of that and how you actually modeled it out, right? So what this means is, you know what? Maybe I either add more subdivisions or I convert this to a smooth version of it, meaning I press 3. And then if you do need to press 3, that means you end up adding additional edge loops, maybe, you know, here, and then maybe here, and then there. See, so now that's a smoother result because I'm using a subdivision surface, right? So that is going to be my model. Okay, so it's not trivial as just trying to model it out. If you do have a close-up, that means you have to make sure it has significant uh, detail on areas that it will have a close-up. Okay, so another thing is when you're doing characters and your characters will have close-ups. So let me just show you, especially if it's the characters. Okay, great. So we'll have a look at that, Dylan. So just an example, if you have, let's say, a character, and again, a lot of you will feel that that's trivial. Um, if you're a professional character modeler or a sculptor, uh, then a lot of these things is straightforward for you. You understand that, you know what, if there's a close-up, I need this amount of detail for this particular part of the character. So I'll spend most of my time, let's say, on the eyes, on the face, etc. But anyway, going back, okay. Geez, I forgot. Content browser. So this is going to be particularly obvious, but see, for example, if this is the level of modeling that you'll have, I understand it's obviously pretty bad, right? But see, guys, notice now that, see, that is not enough detail if you have a close-up. Okay? Notice that the eyes will not be enough. Maybe I'll look for, let's see if I can actually have something here. Um, so even if it's something, let's say, really high res, okay? So see, maybe that one, you textured it and it looks really good, but if it has a close-up, guys, okay? So that is the problem with that. See, notice that in a close-up, it doesn't actually work because even if your texture is high res, notice that it's quite pixelated when you're doing a close-up. So if you treat it as like that, it might look good from that point of view or that angle, but when your character actually has a close-up, let's say here, notice how that breaks down. Meaning, see, notice that it's not quite detailed and then that's not really realistic eyes. Although we're not going for photorealism. Okay, so what I'm saying is it's not going, you really have to think about the details when you're modeling your character. So just an example here. So see, so the question for Hannah is that, will that actually work? I understand that you're still modeling, but will that actually work when you do a close-up? Okay, let's see what else we have here. So similar, I guess, to, so Aaron is doing the layout. I guess similar to Brandon as well. So will that look good in a close-up? It might look good from this particular angle, but will that look good in a close-up? Okay. Yeah, so totally fine. So again, the thing is, we're trying to work. So for Hannah, so I understand that some of you might not have, um, might have gone over the first modeling subject a while back, so it takes time to get used to it again. So that's why we have two people working on competitively working on the same thing. So we'll just choose later on which one has a better model, so we can continue with our with our project, right? So again, for Brandon's case, see, this might look good from that angle, but will it actually hold when we have a close-up on the character's head? So I can easily say that, you know what, it's going to be very obvious when you do a close-up, then that eye is really just an attachment on the head. Now, if that works for the shot, that's fine, but if it doesn't, then we need to reconsider how to model the eyes, right? Okay. Okay, so that's probably Toon Boom for Hannah. So yep. So actually maybe rigging later on anyway. Maybe you can convert that rigging into rigging in 3D as well. So we will see. Okay. With that said, guys. Okay. Um, let's see. Where was I? Anyway, let's have a look at. Sorry, let me just see what Dylan has here. Okay. Okay, because yes, so this is an important point because I think if we have a look at the shots itself, okay, so let me just have a quick look at the shots. It's really hard working on multiple apps and screens, so let me just check. Jeez. Okay, there. Shot list. Okay, so we have a extreme close up. There. Tier. Actually, we might need to change this. It's in the desk or from the desk, but it's really from the. I think you're doing a picture frame, if I'm correct. So we'll just use that picture frame. So let me just have a quick look. So the thing is, Dylan is creating a picture frame. So what I'm saying is we'll just maximize that picture frame later on, right? So that means instead of doing the character wiping a dried tear stain from the desk, it's probably going to be from the picture frame. Okay. Now, if Kane already created that shot, that's fine. We can adjust that later on. You don't have to change anything. Okay. So, for example, this one, we know that Dylan's prop will be used in a close-up where the character is, wiping a tear from the picture frame. So what that might mean is, let's have a look at the current prop. Okay, there you go. So let's have a look at, let's see, downloads. Okay, so picture frame. So this is from Dylan. Okay, so again, picture frame looks like a good start. But if you know that your shot will be, and maybe let me just show you. So if you know that your shot is going to be something like that. Okay, so we see the character or the tier character, and let me just change this. Let's import the character there. Scaling reference. So that might be too small, Dylan. So if this is our reference, that means that this picture frame might be significantly bigger. So maybe something like that, even bigger. So maybe something like that, right? So, yep. So with that said, this one. So let me just, so what this means, right, is we might have a shot where the character is, we don't see the character yet, but we see the broom or the hand trying to wipe the tear off the picture frame. So see, notice what that is, what that means. This is probably the shot where we see the picture frame on top of, a wide shot. So that means that you have to have significant detail on the frame itself. So for example, what this might mean, right, is I might need to, let's say, select the edges. So maybe I'll select the edges here, okay? And then maybe I'll add a bevel. Okay, so maybe decrease the fraction and then increase the number of segments. Okay, so segments and then decrease the shit. I forgot how to, there. Okay, and then maybe on top of that, I might add another beveling here to make sure that I get a soft enough insert, edit mesh bevel, and then again lower that down and then increase the segments, right? So on top of that, it might mean I need to insert an edge loop here, okay? And I might need to just maybe scale that down. What I like doing, guys, especially when I'm modeling, what I like doing is actually adding a light. So some of you do that, some of you don't. But the idea behind that is if you have a light, and I usually prefer using some sort of HDR or an image-based light, and a good website to actually do this, it's HDR Haven, Polyhaven, sorry, Polyhaven. Okay, so the reason, let me just show you why. Okay, so this is Polyhaven, and I'm talking about using a light when I'm modeling. And the reason for that is, for example, if I just use a studio light here, so maybe I'll just use, this is basically an HDR or an image-based light. You can use it, uh, to light your scene up. It's good because maybe I'll just use this Photo Brown Studio. I'll download that. And then I'll just copy that to my project folder. So let me just do this fast, everyone. So you'll understand why I'm doing it this way. So I just copy that HDR. So let me just show you, right? I add a light and a sky dome light. And then what I'll do next is just add the texture. So this is basic HDR stuff. So you guys probably know how to do this. So I'll just specify that Brown Photo Studio and I'll just turn on use all lighting. Okay. And then hardware texturing. Okay. So the reason why this is important, and maybe this one, I'll just assign edit, delete by type history. And this is an open PBR surface. So I'll just give it a little bit of roughness. So maybe I'll lower down the roughness. So the idea behind this is with that HDR and with that lighting, and maybe I'll just rotate that HDR a little bit. There you go. Okay. Maybe there. You know what? Just there. Okay. So the reason why I'm doing that is so I can just see, so say, I like seeing that reflection or that specularity. So for example, if you do have a close-up like that, right? So that means I know ideally where I need to add more detail. So for example, if I need to, for example, maybe move, let's say that one. I already beveled it, so unfortunately I won't be able to change it. But see, I'm just able to just quickly check if I might need to move that a little bit to make that look better. So see, I like how the light affects that. So see, so maybe that's the thing I'm looking for. And then I can see also what's happening if I have, a picture frame here. Okay, so again, it just helps me with my modeling process. Okay, so similar again to, let's say, another prop that Dylan has. So let's say it's this broom. Okay, so that's broom, and let's have a look. So similar stuff with the broom, right? So will that actually look good in a close-up? So looks okay, but obviously we need the bristles there. But again, I understand that you guys are still, you know, refining the model, right? So see, that gives you a pretty good idea what it might look like in the shot. Okay, so just some few tips with regards to, you know, how to add detail and where to add detail. Okay, so with that idea in mind, with if you already have an idea of what the shot is, so that means you might not need too much. You probably don't need to spend too much time trying to model every single. I mean, you probably need to have significant modeling here, but what this might mean is Dylan probably doesn't have to spend a lot of time trying to make this the backside look good, because there's no shot where we actually see the backside of the picture frame. In fact, I can literally delete that and literally delete this as well, and it doesn't matter because it's there's no shot where we actually see the picture frame, the back of the picture frame. Okay, it's really just the front that we need to concentrate on. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some tips with regards to how to approach the modeling process when you're modeling main characters and main props in particular. Similar to the students doing the environments. So if you're doing the environments, if you model every single thing, that'll take you forever to do. Okay, so if you try to model every single thing in the environment, then you're going to spend a long time doing it. You for the model for the environments anyway, you want to just concentrate on the big areas, right? So that means the walls, the windows, all of that stuff. But if you try to model the walls or the windows really in a really detailed manner, and there's no close-ups on those, then you're basically spending unnecessary time on those particular areas, right? So, for example, in our shots, we don't really have a shot of the windows. So, if you spend like 2 hours trying to create the perfect frame for the window, then that's not really an efficient use of your time, right? So, with that said, okay, let's have a look at what you guys are submitting. Okay, so what you guys are submitting are two things. Number one, you need to submit your 3D files. The reason for this is obvious, right? Because you're part of a production and we're going to be using the files for later purposes. So we're going to use it, you know, if we choose a character, then we choose one character and we'll rig it. If it's an environment, we obviously need it for our shots. If it's props, same thing. So we need all of those assets. So with that said, what I need you to do as part of the assessment, right, is you actually need to open OneDrive or have access to OneDrive. I actually installed the OneDrive app. And let me just show you, I guess. OneDrive app. So OneDrive app is an app. So guys, as a student, right? If you're using your student account, you have, I think, 4 terabytes of OneDrive space. We're going to maximize that for this class. Okay, so as long as you use your student student account, what you're able to do is you're able to download OneDrive. And I already gave you some resources with regards to how to install OneDrive and the idea behind OneDrive. It's basically cloud storage. So we just have a way to have a centralized location for all of our files. In fact, the centralized location of all of our files is something I already shared with you guys. It's called, so see, notice that this is my OneDrive folder. So we have the Tiers project there. It's a Maya project. So what this means, guys, is once you have this, once you have access to that, okay, I want you to submit your files in the correct area. So this means the students doing the props, I want you to submit your props here, okay, under the props directory in the scenes folder. Then, for the students doing the environment, I think it's just one. Just make sure you're submitting your Maya file. If you're using Blender, the thing is, Blender is fine until everyone needs to use the same system. Meaning, if we're doing shots and we're doing environments, then it's either we all use Blender or we all use Maya. Or in advanced studios, you can actually use, well, they seldom use Blender for security reasons because it's open source. But anyway, You can use multiple softwares or multiple tools, but we use a special format called USD or Universal Scene Description, which allows you to jump between different applications because a lot of applications can read it, but that's a more advanced workflow. We won't have that luxury. Okay, so again, we won't have that luxury because we're just doing it at a very, standard level. Okay, so what this means is for the students doing the characters, make sure to save your characters in the scene directory. That's going to be a Maya file or FBX file, or FBX or Maya file. And then for the students, I think that's Kane doing the layout. So you need to share or put your Maya layout file here under layout. Okay. What you're submitting though, guys. So just checking if this is clear with everyone. Okay. So if just make sure you have access to that OneDrive link I sent that's in the Teams page, and make sure to actually so it's here in the week 4, right? So see all the resources with regards to OneDrive. It's there, the Tiers project, all the way to useful links to explain what OneDrive is and what it's meant for, right? I prefer that you guys actually install the app because that will allow you to automatically update your folders. Okay. So with that said, is this clear what you guys need to do as a first part of the submission? You have to submit your 3D files. Okay? So does that make sense for everyone here? So that's Brandon, Dylan, and Hannah. Yes. Yes. So that's the Tiers project. And you have to ideally install OneDrive. You have to use your student email address. Okay. So it's going to look, well, if you click on the link and then just use your student email address to access the link. So meaning, let me just show you guys that, I guess. So I'll just close this and maybe I'll just close this as well. So just to show you guys, okay? You can do it online. The problem is, and let me just show you guys that. So see, if you just click on this link, right, the Tiers project, it'll open that OneDrive link. As long as you're using your student email address, it will automatically bring you to that link. So see, this is the online version of the project folder. So meaning you can just go to under scenes and then just drag and drop that to, let's say, your props or let's say your characters. Okay. Now, that's okay when you're submitting files. The problem is when I'm assigning you certain things like rigging a character or let's say animating a scene. That means you actually need access to the whole project. So if you don't have OneDrive installed, that will be hard to do because what happens is you think you'll just download the entire thing. But keep in mind, we're updating the project folder almost every day. So meaning the changes I have or maybe a changes, for example, Hannah has to automatically update to that folder. So what that means is if you downloaded it yesterday, that means you won't have the changes that were done to that folder today. So what you need actually is a way to constantly update the folder that well to constantly be updated of the folder, and that's where the OneDrive app comes in. So I do recommend that you guys use the OneDrive app. It means you install it in your machines. That means it's hard. It's going to look something like this, guys. I think you probably have that. So let me just do that again. Um, so let me just 3 seconds new. There you go. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. So see, this is my OneDrive app. So it's an app, actually, it's an app in my computer, and it automatically allows me to, um, update the folder. It's it's actually treating it as a folder, a directory in your computer. So just to show you, see, that's OneDrive. That's my student project. That's project Tiers. That's the Tiers project. So see, it's treating it as an actual folder in my computer. Okay. So just checking if this is clear for everyone. First thing you need to submit, right? Make sure to submit your 3D files. Otherwise, we don't have anything to work on. So just checking with everyone here if that's clear with regards to what you need. Okay. Make sure. Okay. To upload your 3D files. Okay, so the actual submission, what I'm going to be marking you on, will be the second thing. Okay, so this is going to be the showcase. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily explore. I'll look at your 3D files, but I'm not going to mark you based off your 3D files. Because if you're doing this professionally, let's say you're applying for a job as a modeler, or let's say as a props artist, or let's say a story artist, right? You're not going to give them your 3D files, guys. Okay? What you're going to be giving them is either a showcase, a portfolio, a reel. So what you're doing is, uh, for HANA, no. So for your 3D files, I don't want you to upload it in Sketchfab. I want you to upload that in the location I specified. That's OneDrive. Okay? So it's in the Teams page. So in the Teams page, for the showcase, the showcase is just a video. Okay? So let me just explain why. So just imagine, the best way to think about this is to just imagine you're applying for a job as a character modeler, or let's say a props artist, or let's say a story artist, right? Or environment artist. How do you showcase the stuff that you've already done in the past? So this is where showcasing comes in. Okay, so for example, see, notice that you have a 3D modeler job, and then what we're looking for is they're looking for specific environment modeling reels. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're creating a job specific showcase, particularly a job specific showcase in terms of what you did for the asset or the task that you're assigned. Okay, so just an example. Okay, I'll go back to that later on. But see, so let's say you modeled a character. You want to create a showcase that really showcases your design skills and let's say your modeling skills. So you create a reel out of that, or a showcase out of that. Okay, so this is a good example. Okay, so why is this a good example? Because number one, you're able to show the studio or the company that you can take a character design. So maybe it's your design, it might be someone else's. In your case, it's going to be your design. So the idea behind this is I can take a design and I can model it, and I can convert the appeal of that design into an actual 3D model. So this is a good showcase, because see, notice that, again, I won't tell you what to do, right? Because some of you will ask, so that's a turntable? It doesn't have to be a turntable. Is that a music video, or is that, a video showcasing the face? It doesn't have to be. Again, it's something that you have to think about. It's storytelling. It's what you want to showcase, right? So for example, this one, let me show you why this is good. So again, this shows you that I can take a 3D model, a design, and I can convert it directly to 3D. I can show that the details of my work, see, this is good because I can see that if you do have a close-up on the legs, then or the body, notice that I have enough modeling detail there to, to assure that it works. Notice that I also have a close-up of the face. So why is this important? Because again, it shows you that I actually modeled the face and it will survive a close-up if we need to. I even added a facial expressions, although you don't really need to. And now the reason is, notice that this person chose to show the wireframe. Okay? Did the company specify, or did the company or did people tell him to, or tell her to actually add the wireframe? Probably not. But the reason why this artist added it in is because he wanted to show that he practices good topology with regards to modeling a face, right? So that's the reason why he added that in, because he wants to show to the studio, you know what? I know topology is important when you have animated characters. I'm just showing you that, you know what? The face that I modeled has good topology. Okay? So again, notice that it's not prescriptive. I'm not specifying what you guys need to show and not show, right? What I'm doing is I'm giving you a lot of freedom with regards to how you choose to showcase that character. Similar stuff. See, notice that the idea behind this reel is so I can, it shows you that I can convert a character concept into an actual 3D model. Now, notice that there's two versions of the character. Even if, no one's told the person or the artist to create two versions of it, right? he chose to create two versions of it because the first version really showcases the detail because that's a reflective or a shiny material, so it just shows the amount of detail work he did. Okay, and the other one showcases the texturing. Okay, so see, notice that again. So I like that. Okay, so notice that this might show the texturing and the other one shows the detail work. Okay, notice that you have this one as well. Okay, so again, I'm not going to specify how you do it. I'm just going to show you some examples here and then you have to think about, okay, how you want to approach it. Okay, so some good examples there. I'll show you another example. So similar stuff to this. Notice that it's a prop, and notice how this particular artist chose to showcase the work. Okay, so notice that he did a lot of close-ups, or she did a lot of close-ups. The reason that might be is because that artist wanted to show that, you know what, I modeled something, but if you have a close-up of that particular model, this will survive a close-up. Okay, and I do understand that you have, so see, I like this. So why did this person specify that he know or she knows how to use PBR workflows and she knows how to use 3 UV sets and 4 maps? So why did they specify that? The reason for that is they want the artist wants to showcase that I know how to use this particular software. I know that in studios you use, you know, multiple UV sets and then you use 4K or 2K maps. I wanted to show that I know that that's the process and I understand that process. Okay, so there's a lot of things you're able to do with that showcase. Okay, so similar stuff. So see that one, no one is going to specify you guys do that. Okay, so no studio will say do it this way, wipe, do a wipe, do another wipe, do another wipe. So there's no studio that is going to specify that they want it that particular way. It's really you guys, you know, trying to showcase your model the best way possible, right? So the reason for that is obvious. The person wanted to showcase that, you know what, I understand the PBR workflow. That's my normal map. That's my I think world position. That is my, you know, displacement, and then that's my specular map, or you know, or metalness map. Okay, so it just shows that, you know, I understand that particular workflow. So see, notice that this person really focusing on showcasing the close-ups, because if this gun has a close-up, then I'm showing you as a prop modeler that I understand that some props will have close-ups. I'm showing you that I can model detailed shots or detailed parts of the object. So see, notice how that actually works. Okay. So again, a lot of ways you can do this, right? So I'm going to now, for example, this one. No one will tell you light your model, but this person chose to light it well. And the reason for that is obvious. The person wanted to separate themselves from other artists, right? So again, I'm not going to specify how you do it. I'm just telling you to create a showcase that really demonstrates your skills. Okay? Now the question is, what skills are you trying to demonstrate? The skills you're trying to demonstrate, guys, and this is just some suggestions, right? Obviously, you want to showcase your 3D skills, meaning you understand the 3D process, right? So that means you know UVs, you know that you can create multiple UV sets, or you create multiple UV tiles, or understand the UDIM workflow. On top of that, it might be great to showcase your design skills. So for example, if you're a designer, you actually design the character, then I'll even show them my sketches and I'll show them my designs to just tell the studio that, you know what, I can model, but I can also design characters. I am very flexible and I'm very, you know, I have multiple skills, unlike other 3D modelers. So you're trying to distinguish yourselves from other modelers, right? So some some people. Exactly. So, question from Dylan. Every artist designer have their own different styles. So again, it for example, if your particular interest is anime and you have a lot of anime drawings, and you know what, you modeled a character, an anime character that you designed yourself. So I really want, in my showcase, I really want to demonstrate that I understand anime and I have a lot of experience. So maybe just before I showcase the model, I showcase a lot of my anime designs and character designs, and then I showcase the model. And the reason for that is, you know what? I'm different. I actually know and I actually follow, this particular anime series or whatever. Okay, so you're trying to distinguish yourself from other artists. Another way you can do that is to understand the bigger picture. So how do you show that you understand the bigger picture? Notice that a lot of the showcases I showed you demonstrated, the ideas of close-up. It also demonstrated that they specified the tools they worked on. Did they use Blender? Did they use Maya? Did they use Substance Painter, etc.? Those are things, those simple things demonstrate that you understand the bigger process, meaning you understand that some studios, for example, if you're applying for a studio that uses Blender, then I'll definitely find a way to put in my reel that I know I'm using Blender and I'm using this combination of softwares, right? So again, it's just you demonstrating that you understand their process and you can easily come in and then, work on that particular process, right? So again, just some examples. So modelers and props, relatively straightforward, right? Find ways to showcase your product, and that's good. Slightly different when you're doing, we don't really have, well, for the students doing the texturing, similar stuff. It's really just the character artist doing the texturing, right? So maybe modeling is not your thing and texturing is really more of your thing. So maybe spend more time showcasing your texturing process. So what this means, guys, is, see, I'll demonstrate maybe different layers or different iterations of my texturing. That is more of effects really, but see this one. So see, notice now that different layers of my texturing, and then I'm showcasing that. No one or no studio will tell you to do it in that specific way, but you're showcasing that, you know what, I'm really into detail. So notice what I'm doing. I'm adding a lot of details on top of, so see those things, right? So again, I'm showcasing different parts of, especially for environment, similar stuff. So see, so for the students doing environment, similar stuff. No one will tell you to light it. But why did this artist chose to light the model or chose to light the environment he created? And the obvious reason for that is he just wants to showcase the thing he created, more, right? So maybe that particular lighting and with some music just helps you really appreciate the environment that he created a bit more. Okay. On top of that, notice that, for example, here, you don't have to animate it, but notice how the animation actually enhances the overall experience. Okay, notice that you don't have to put wireframes, similar to what he has here. So notice that he has some wireframes there. No studio told him to add wireframes, but the reason why he added wireframes is because look at my topology. Look how clean my topology is. Look how that is actually very close to what professionals do. So again, you're just demonstrating that in your showcase, right? Um, for the students doing layout, and that's Kane. Similar stuff. So how can you showcase layout? So for example, this one. Notice that this artist, he is an actual Fred. So he is an actual layout and previous artist. So notice what happens there. See, I'm showing you that this is my storyboard or this is my shot list. And notice how I'm able to convert that shot list into an actual 3D scene. So with my cinematography and with some rough animations. Now you don't even have to show animations. The idea is, see, there's a now animation there, but notice how that really showcases your framing, your cinematography, etc. Okay? So again, this is a good example because you're showing the storyboard on the left-hand side, and then you're showing the previs or the layout scene on the other side. This means I can take a storyboard, I can take a shot list, and I can actually convert that into an actual scene. Okay, so some examples there. So similar to this one. See, notice that this one, similar stuff. I can take a storyboard, Again, you might not have a storyboard, but just show a shot list. I can take a shot list and I can convert that into a layout scene in 3D because, again, I understand the process, right? So see, notice now that that's the layout. You don't have to animate the character, but see, notice that, again, you're able to do that. Okay, so see, there you go. Awesome. Hey. So again, the animation is quite refined, not refined, but there's significant animation there, but you don't even have to when you're just showcasing layout, right? So again, a lot of ways you can do this. Okay. Now, none of you are doing effects, so that's I'll just skip to that part. But is this clear in terms of how you're supposed to? Again, you're submitting two things, right? The 3D model or the scene files are important, but that's not going to be the basis of my marking. What I will be marking you guys is how you showcase your specific work. Okay, so is that making sense for everyone here? So just checking. Yep. So again, this is an important skill, especially when you graduate, primarily because you have to separate yourselves from other artists, right? So for example, in your graduating class there might be like 30 of you, no, sorry, hundreds of you graduating, and all of you, model. So what makes you stand out from other modelers? So you just need to, again, find ways to demonstrate that. Okay. With that said, guys, I mentioned that it's going to be a relatively quick class because that's really it, right? I can perhaps demonstrate. So the thing is, the future of manufacturing, it's probably too late to change workflows at this stage. So I want you to just continue working on your stuff. If you need help with your specific file or for a specific task, just let me know. Okay, we can schedule a consultation and we can have a look at that. Okay, but for now, okay, let me just share what you guys need to do. So again, simple challenge for this week. It's not really a challenge, it's more of just you sharing your assessment with everyone. So the challenge for week 4 is quite simple, right? So I'll just post this here, announcements, and then this is going to be week 4 challenge. Okay, and then it's really just you guys sharing your work. Okay, so there you go, and then I'll plug that in. Okay, and then post. Okay, so at this stage, let's just quickly check if there are any questions from you guys at this stage, any technical stuff or things you need help with. So start with Brandon. So checking with Brandon if everything's okay. Checking with Hannah, and checking with Kane, and checking with Dylan as well. Okay, so Brandon is good. Hannah is good. Dylan is good, and then Kane is no good. Okay, is no question. Sorry. So there you go. So that's good. I'll see you guys next week. You can schedule a consultation, worst case scenario, and then we can have a look at what you guys complete from next week, and then we'll see. Again, your task start with assessment 2 is going to be totally different, meaning just because you did characters in assessment 1 doesn't mean it's going to be character related in assessment 2. Okay, so we'll be doing different things. Okay, with regards to again, so we understand that life happens, you get sick, and then you have other stuff happening as well. So as we mentioned, guys, just go to MyLearn. You can ask for an extension. Totally fine. If you need more than 7 days, then you normally contact student services, and then we'll take it from there, right? So all the best though. So let's see what you guys. So the idea behind. So a lot of students were able to maximize this class primarily because they were able to complete the entire thing. So they were able to actually complete a short film. I think our particular short film is relatively easy to do, even if we're a very small class. We can definitely complete it. And if we complete it at a good level, I think it's going to be really good for your portfolio. So let's see where you guys are at. If everyone does a really good job, I think we can create something that is going to be portfolio worthy for all of you. Okay, so all the best there, and I'll see you guys next week. So I'll stop the recording, and as I mentioned, I'll see you guys next week unless you have any issues, and we can have a look at that, later this week.